Fear is a physical creature that lives within the spine.
Just what you've been waiting for. Movies, TV, music, and more. Follow, subscribe, stay up to date. Episodes drop every other Monday. It's the man, watch that. It's the man, watch that. It's the man, watch that podcast.
Welcome to the Matt Watch That podcast, the place for reviews, rants, and randomness. I'm your host, Matt Seroski, filmmaker, film fan. Each episode, I'm going to watch a movie or TV pilot that I probably should have seen but never got around to. It could be a recent favorite, critic's choice, or cult classic. To join in on the conversation, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Matt Seroski. You can subscribe to my YouTube page where I'll post videos and clips from the show. If you have any opinions on what I've discussed, or suggestions as to what I should see next, use the hashtag MattWatchThat on social. Before we start, we are a month out until the first part of Stranger Things Season 5 is released.
Inevitable Stranger Things reference.
Fans are speculating about what could happen, so I'm going to give you a couple of predictions on the final season. Obviously, there's going to be a big final battle with Vecna. Henry Creel has been the mastermind behind much of the chaos in Hawkins, and this storyline will wrap up. The Upside Down and the real world will either merge as one, or Vecna will be defeated and peace will befall on the quiet town. One of the most heartbreaking arcs in Season 4 was Max's near-death experience at the hands of Vecna. Although she was physically saved by the group's effort, she's left in a coma, potentially haunted by the trauma. It seems she may still be connected to Vecna's influence, and her recovery, or lack thereof, could play a central role. Throughout the series, Eleven has grown increasingly powerful, but there's still a lot we don't know about the full extent of her abilities, especially after her confrontation with Vecna in the Season 4 finale. The mysterious nature of her powers, as well as her connection to the Upside Down, is something that will almost certainly come into play in the final season. Eleven will discover her ultimate strength in Season 5, possibly unlocking a hidden aspect of her powers that could help take down Vecna once and for all. We've seen her struggling with her identity and abilities, so there's potential for a huge moment where she embraces who she really is, both the hero and the weapon capable of ending this battle. Will Byers has been through a lot, especially with his extended stay in the Upside Down in Season 1 and his emotional turmoil in later seasons. Season 4 ended with him appearing to still have a special connection to the Upside Down. Will may become an even more important character in Season 5. Given his connection to the Upside Down, it's possible he might serve as a key to understanding how to defeat it. I wouldn't be surprised if Will's role is to find a way to sever the connection between the two worlds, or become a sort of spiritual anchor to help the others fight against Vecna. I do hope there is a Stranger Things reunion in the future, but some people gotta die. I'm thinking Steve, Robin, Max, Jonathan, and Murray. So what are your thoughts on the final season of Stranger Things? Hit me up on social media with your predictions using the hashtag MattWatchThat. On to the main attraction. Each review will end with a ranking out of 5 stars. 1 star is skip it, 2 stars watch at your own risk, 3 stars standard fare, 4 stars worth checking out, and 5 stars must see. Now, if I give a title 5 stars, it doesn't mean I'm comparing it to Casablanca, Jaws, or Seinfeld. I rank titles based on other movies or TV series in that genre and at that time period. On this episode of the podcast, I'll be reviewing The Tingler from 1959. It was directed by William Castle, who helmed historical biography Serpent of the Nile, supernatural horror House on Haunted Hill, and mystery thriller Homicidal. The screenplay was written by Rob White, who scribed body horror Macabre, and episodes of legal drama Perry Mason. It stars Vincent Price as Dr. Warren Chapin. Known for his distinctive voice, dramatic delivery, and knack for playing sinister and sometimes campy villains, Price left his mark on the horror genre and became a beloved figure in American cinema. His legacy transcends his performances, as he embodied both the height of classic horror and the quirks of modern cult fandom. Vincent Leonard Price was born on May 27, 1911, in St. Louis, Missouri, into a wealthy family with a strong connection to the arts. His father was a successful businessman, and his mother was an opera singer. Price's early exposure to the arts led him to study at Yale University, where he earned a degree in English. His acting career began on the stage, and he made his Broadway debut in 1936, but it was not until the early 40s that his career in film truly began to take off. Price initially entered Hollywood playing suave, aristocratic villains in films like The House of the Seven Gables, The Invisible Man Returns, and Tower of London. His early roles often leaned into his upper-crust demeanor, casting him as a refined but sinister figure. He was typecast as a villain in many of his early films, but what set him apart from other actors was his ability to mix menace with a touch of charm, giving his characters a layer of complexity and intrigue that allowed him to stand out. Price's most significant and lasting impact came with his work in horror films, where he would achieve legendary status. His breakthrough came in 1953 with House of Wax, a 3D horror film in which Price played the mad sculptor Professor Henry Jarrett. The film was a commercial success and solidified Price's place as a rising star in the genre. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, Price became the quintessential horror actor, working in a series of films that have since become cult classics. In The Fly, The House on Haunted Hill, and The Tingler, his association with the burgeoning world of schlocky horror were perfectly matched to Price's ability to deliver eerie performances with both seriousness and a knowing wink. Price's collaboration with Roger Corman in the early 1960s would become legendary, especially with the films based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe. Corman's Poe cycle, including House of Usher, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Raven, and The Mask of the Red Death, allowed Price to fully embrace his persona as a larger-than-life horror icon. By the 1970s, he fully embraced his status as a camp icon, and films like The Abominable Dr. Phoebes and Dr. Phoebes Rises Again allowed him to lean into the theatrical, flamboyant side of his acting style. Price was also known for his unique voice, which found its way into television and other media. In 1982, he lent his deep theatrical voice to the iconic title track and music video for Thriller by Michael Jackson, an association that would introduce him to a new generation of fans. He also provided the voice for the villainous Ratigan in The Great Mouse Detective. Vincent Price is and will forever remain an icon of cinema. His contributions to horror are not only foundational, but are also a testament to the power of performance in a genre that so often relies on the grotesque, the mysterious, and the unknown. The Tingler also features Judith Evelyn, Daryl Hickman, and Patricia Cutts. This is something to look out for. This was apparently the earliest mainstream film to depict an LSD trip. So let's jump into it. The Tingler opens with a chilling premise, a mysterious condition that causes extreme terror in its victims. The film centers around Dr. Warren Chapin, a pathologist who is fascinated by the phenomenon of fear and its physiological effects on the human body. He hypothesizes that fear manifests as a creature, called the Tingler, that resides in the human spine and can grow to dangerous sizes when its host experiences intense fright. This research leads Dr. Chapin to investigate the death of a woman named Miss Fitzgerald, who dies of apparent terror. During the autopsy, Dr. Chapin finds a strange and frightening tumor-like creature attached to her spinal cord, which he believes is the Tingler. The discovery leads Chapin to test his theory on living subjects, including an eccentric theater owner, and further explore how fear can physically manifest and be induced. Here's a quote without context. Remember, if you scream at just the right time, it might just save your life. The Tingler is one of director William Castle's most audacious and inventive films, blending science fiction, horror, and experimental cinema in a way that speaks to both the exploitation culture of the late 1950s and the evolving aesthetics of the horror genre. Known for his gimmicky style and his ability to provoke shock and awe in theatergoers, Castle crafted The Tingler as a thrilling, albeit campy, exploration of fear, hysteria, and the physical body's reaction to terror. At its core, The Tingler revolves around an intriguing, if somewhat absurd, concept: Fear is a physical creature that lives within the spine. The notion that fear can be externalized into a tangible creature represents a unique way of conceptualizing the human's body reaction to emotional and psychological stimuli. As Chapin induces fear into his test subjects, we see him attempting to control what is uncontrollable, the body's primal reaction to terror. This blending of science and horror foreshadows the types of body horror that would later be explored in films like David Cronenberg's The Fly remake and John Carpenter's The Thing remake. The tone of the film is intentionally playful, combining genuine horror with an almost campy sensibility. The Tingler remains an iconic, if somewhat forgotten, film in the history of horror cinema. Despite its low budget and over-the-top premise, The Tingler stands as an important example of how horror filmmakers were beginning to experiment with not just the narrative and characters, but with the experience of fear itself. Now for a little trivial trivia. The film was shown in theaters that installed Percepto devices, which included an electric buzzer in some seats to provide tingling sensations during particular scenes. The Tingler was produced by William Castle Productions and distributed by Columbia Pictures. It was filmed at Columbia Warner Brothers Ranch in Burbank, California. The cinematography was captured by Wilfred M. Klein, whose filmography includes episodes of Crime Mystery: The Detectives, drama Saints and Sinners, and western The Big Valley. He was nominated for one Academy Award for Best Cinematography, Color, of Aloma of the Southeast. It was edited by Chester W. Schaefer, who worked on Adventure, Khyber Patrol, Crime Thriller, The Gun Runners, and episodes of family drama Lassie. He was nominated for one Academy Award for Best Film Editing of The Well. The score was composed by Von Dexter, who wrote the music for horror films House on Haunted Hill, 13 Ghosts, and Mr. Sardonicus. The runtime is 1 hour, 22 minutes. It had a budget of $400,000 and grossed $2.9 million at the box office. On the Ski Index, I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you've seen The Tingler and have opinions on the movie, let me know what you think using the hashtag MattWatchThat. Moving right along, each episode, I'm going to post clips that I think people should watch. It could be movie trailers, music videos, interviews, or something completely random. Search for my YouTube page and there'll be a playlist called Matt Watch That Playback. Ash vs. Evil Dead is a horror comedy television series that aired from 2015 to 2018, a continuation of the Evil Dead franchise, which was originally launched with Sam Raimi's cult classic films in the 1980s. The show brings back the iconic character, Ash Williams, played by Bruce Campbell, and blends element of gore, dark humor, and supernatural horror. The series is a direct sequel to the events of the original films, picking up with Ash decades after the events of Army of Darkness. Ash vs. Evil Dead follows Ash Williams, now an aging, often cocky and self-centered, chainsaw-wielding hero, who lives a quiet, somewhat miserable life as a lowly hardware store worker. However, his peaceful existence is disrupted when the forces of evil, reminiscent of those from the original Evil Dead films, are unleashed once again. The series blends over-the-top gore, absurd humor, and campy dialogue, staying true to the Evil Dead franchise's signature style. The horror elements are amplified with extreme levels of violence, often mixed with absurdly comic moments. The show doesn't shy away from shocking special effects, such as decapitations, blood sprays, and deadites bursting into flames or being dismembered, giving fans the same campy gore that they loved in the original films. Ash vs. Evil Dead was met with generally positive reviews, praised for staying true to the essence of the original films, while expanding the universe in exciting new ways. While the series developed a cult following, it was ultimately canceled after 3 seasons due to declining ratings, though it still remains beloved in horror comedy circles. Ash vs. Evil Dead successfully brought the chaotic, blood-soaked fun of the Evil Dead franchise to the small screen. With Bruce Campbell's unforgettable performance as the anti-hero, the show delivered a perfect mix of dark humor, over-the-top gore, and supernatural horror. The series was on for 3 seasons, 30 episodes. I've selected a couple of clips all around the Evil Dead franchise. They're all available in the Matt Watch That Playback playlist on YouTube. Check it out. Now it's time for the recommendation. Yes, that's the word recommendation with Matt in the middle. I'm going to end each podcast with my own recommendation of a movie or TV series. Today I'm talking about King on Screen. It's a documentary that explores the profound impact of Stephen King's work on cinema and television, examining how his iconic stories have been adapted for the screen over several decades. Directed by Daphne Bauer, the film delves into the creative process behind the many adaptations of King's novels and short stories, focusing on how filmmakers have brought his dark, fantastical, and often deeply human narratives to life. The documentary features interviews with directors, actors, screenwriters, and critics, offering insights into the unique challenges and opportunities of adapting King's work for film and television. It also highlights key adaptations such as The Shining, It, Carrie, Misery, and The Shawshank Redemption, which have become classics in their own right, as well as exploring the sometimes controversial or misunderstood adaptations. Through these conversations and behind-the-scenes footage, King on Screen paints a portrait of a writer whose work has shaped the horror and thriller genres, while also delving into universal themes of fear, isolation, hope, and redemption. The documentary also sheds light on King's personal connection to the medium and how his storytelling transcends the page to resonate with global audiences. By celebrating the lasting legacy of King's literary work on the big and small screens, King on Screen not only honors the vast influence of his books, but also examines the intricate relationship between literature and filmmaking. That's all for this edition of Matt Watch That. Thanks for listening to me babble. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Matt Seroski. You can subscribe to my YouTube page where I'll post videos and clips from the show. If you have any opinions on what I've discussed, or suggestions as to what movie or TV pilot I should see, use the hashtag MattWatchThat on social. Head over to mattseroski.com for all the latest news and updates, and come back next time for the reviews, rants, and randomness. She might either fully recover and become an essential part of the final battle, or, in a tragic turn, her lingering connection to Necna, a pathologist who is fascinated by the phenomenon of fear is so tough to say. Phenomenon. Castle crafted the Tingler as a thrilling, albeit campy, exploration of fear, hysterica.